Thank you. Welcome to those joining online and in the public gallery. We begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. I'll read the prayer. Almighty God, we humbly beseech your blessing on the council, direct and prosper its deliberation for the welfare of the people of the Moyne Shire. Amen. Amen. Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed and can be viewed by the general public via Council's Facebook page or when later uploaded to Council's website. By participating in and addressing those present at the meeting, you consent to any information you disclose, including any personal information or sensitive information being recorded and uploaded to the website. Do we have any apologies today? Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? I call for a move to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 28th of October 2023. Speaking through 24th of October. 20, sorry, to the October. A call for a move by Councillor Foster.
Point of order, there's two lots of minutes. Do you accept them both together or? So one was the special meeting, which was unconfirmed.
Yes, they've done as one lot.
Thank you.
Right, it's been moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Purcell. All those in favour, for, against, carried. I'd like to call for a motion to suspend standing orders to hear the public participants. Would somebody like to move that to suspend standing orders?
So moved.
Councillor Purcell, and seconded by, seeking a seconder, Councillor Foster. All those in favour, for, against, carried. Thank you. I'll invite the public participants to speak. I'll call on Mr. Colin Supple, please. Mr. Supple, you have 5 minutes to address the council. You'll be given a warning at 4 minutes, and we have 3 minutes for questioning. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak. The reason I'm speaking to you today is to have an issue addressed by the council that was raised some time ago. I live on Settlers Lane in Illua, and on the 25th of September, I became aware and also notified council that on the same day that my neighbouring property is advertising their block through 2 booking sites, being Hip Camps and Wiki Camps, for caravans and motorhomes to stay on their block. And they're charging a fee of $36 a day. Information that I've received back from the council officer, he has contacted the owner prior to this meeting. He received an undertaking that the bookings were to cease prior to the matter being resolved. This has never occurred, nor has council followed up to, even though I've raised it with the officer on a number of occasions. At this point today, for example, I have not had the issue addressed, and I've provided a number of emails and information back to the officer and to one of your council members here. A number of reasons I raised this notification to council, but I'm only going to cover a couple of the major issues. The subdivision we live in has a restriction on it under section 173 of the agreement, which comes under the Planning and Environment Act. Section 173 agreement is signed by the owners of the blocks when purchasing, which then bind them, both the owner and the Moyne Shire, to the conditions established. The covenant was placed on the blocks at the request of council when the subdivision was being established in 2002. Section 15 of our contract nominates the restrictive conditions that must be adhered to, and there's numerous numbers of those. One of the conditions of section 15, part B, section 6, states the block shall not be used or allowed to be used any or part of the said land to be used for commercial, industry or purposes other than recommendations stated in the covenant. The covenant encourages agricultural activities such as growing vegetables, fruit, whatever, on the land, but any sale transaction of commercial nature must be conducted off-site in places like markets and whatever else. The neighbour, by charging site fees, they have clearly breached the conditions of this covenant. When we purchased our block, our decision was to purchase was made based on the lifestyle opportunities of the blocks offered and on the covenant conditions restricting any commercial or industrial activity. The establishment of this camp is not only in the breach of the covenant, but the neighbour does not appear to have undertaken any planning process to allow it to be registered with council as a caravan park or a health accreditation, and issues for health, things like sullage water from the campers, showers, general waste disposal. It's unclear whether they're being disposed on the land or whether they're being captured with a self-contained unit. They haven't seemed to have any fire protection systems or evacuation plan established for the site.
4 minutes, Mr. Supple.
It should be noted that the CFO was called on the 23rd of November for a fire that had escaped on the property and got into another neighbour's trees. This fire wasn't related to campers, but the owner who hadn't sufficiently put a fire out before the fire restrictions. Having addressed site access, it is limited to a single narrow entrance between the shed and the fence. The location of the fire mentioned above would have prohibited the removal of vehicles and caravans should they have been present, which they weren't at the time. The CFA attended, consisting of a small fire vehicle, only questioned entrance of the larger trucks to the rear of the property concerned. The property owner is also advertising the use of their domestic septic tank for travellers' use. This is a domestic.
5 minutes. Could you please wind up, Mr. Supple?
Okay. The issue is they're advertising the septic tank use for people to do a dump point. I would actually ask request the council to implement actions to require the resident to remove the booking sites, the 2 booking sites, and also to stop this sort of action from happening in the future. And I'm aware of another campsite as well in Koroit, which is using a caravan parked in the driveway. So for hire, which I don't think is reasonable in the interest of Moyne or the council and its residents.
I think that's just about time. Thanks, Mr. Supple.
All right.
Right. Councillor Mead, I'll seek a question from councillor, please. Councillor Mead, then councillor Purcell. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Mr. Supple, thanks for the presentation there. Just, I hear what you're saying regarding the regulation of covenants, etc. Just to help us better understand, what are some of the practical impacts on you and the neighbour?
Well, my answer is we have no security. We have farm fencing between his block and our block. There's no, as I said, there's no fire protection as far as I can tell, because there wasn't any the other day when there was a fire on the block. And the point that I'm trying to make, I suppose, is the covenant, that's the restrictive covenant that's actually on each of the titles is pretty prescriptive, if you want to call it that, doesn't allow any of this type of thing to happen. And technically we don't want to have caravans parked next to our block during periods of high holiday periods and whatever the case. Council has enough caravan parks and situations where they can go and suitably park rather than being on a residential block.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Supple, for your explanation of that. Director McNamara has brought this to our attention previously on at least a couple of occasions. So we do certainly know the situation, and we do have an enforcement team who actually enforce issues that are against our planning scheme. So my question is, in addition to that, what do you want councillors to do?
I personally believe council needs to issue a notice to this resident, if you want to call it that. I won't name the person, but issue a notice to this resident. This is the second time that I believe that this guy has tried to set up a caravan park. So he needs to be made aware that the covenant, and I've got a copy here if anyone needs to have a look at it, that he's agreed to that when he purchased the block, as we all did. And he also needs to be, I don't know, bound by some council process, if I'm trying to think of the word, that hinders him or stops him from doing this sort of thing again. I mean, we don't mind if he grows sheep and sells sheep off-site, or he grows tomatoes. I don't care, but he can't sell them on the block. That's basically what it is. We have other people who grow native vegetation, plants, etc. They sell them at the Port Fairy market or some other market, but not from the block. And it's accepted by all of the residents around us. And I could probably give you a list of the people who now are with me and my wife on stopping this guy from doing this sort of activity. So I think council needs to go, to answer your question, sorry, they need to go back to this guy, tell him to close the 2 booking sites down, because they're clearly booking. There was a case where, and I wrote it down here, the compliance officer actually on the 12th of October sent them a letter saying that he must cease operation. That hasn't happened yet. And then on the 20th of November, he contacted that guy again, who then said that he's collecting data. And I'm not sure what sort of data he's collecting, because the 2 sites are booking sites. They're not data collection sites. So there is a process under the Planning and Environment Act, under section 114(1) and 3A, that the council can actually invoke that rule to stop him from doing what he's doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Gleeson.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Supple, just for clarification, because so the first 2 minutes you talked about he's doing what he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And then for the next 2 minutes you told us about all the things he should have if he wanted to run a caravan park.
Well, I'm just trying to highlight that he hasn't done anything that even if he can't do it legally.
Yeah, so the ask from council is uphold the covenant,
Yes,
and cease commercial operation.
that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
would be the outcome that I'd be seeking.
Any councillors have any further questions before I call on Ms. Jodie McNamara, Director of Environment, Economy and Place? She may be able to add to this.
So just before we do, so Mr. Supple, you think it's time, answering councillor Gleeson's questions, that the Shire has done enough investigating, they need to take action, more stringent action
Absolutely, yes.
now before Christmas?
We need to have solid action taken before Christmas. Because the booking sites are actually asking for people to book ahead 12 months. So I don't think that's feasible. And I don't think that it's fair on the council either.
And it wouldn't be fair to people booking if they book 6 months ahead and then the council in 2 months' time decides to do something.
Well, ever since he's supposedly received the letter to cease operations, there's people been staying there. So he's obviously not listening to the message he's been getting anyway.
Thank you. Ms McNamara, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supple, for your presentation today. We are aware of the issues that you're raising and we'll commit to following that up for you in accordance with the Planning and Environment Act.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great. Thank you. If you need a copy of what I've said, I can provide one of them if you need.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Supple. Thank you for your
time.
presentation.
Thank you.
I'll now call on Mr Peter Tholburn to address council, please. Again, Mr Tholburn, you have 5 minutes. We'll get warning at 4 minutes and we'll have time for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Could I respectfully ask for clarification in regard to have the councillors received a copy of the statement that I initially proposed to be included in my presentation?
Questions? Through you, Mayor. No, they haven't received it. They'll receive it after today's Q&A.
So I have 4 questions resulting from the reference that statement referred to, which is a building order with the reference number BENF 23/0045. And I have 4 questions. And I believe I should be directing these to CEO Davis. Question 1. How did such a scant inspection of a building exterior without an internal structural inspection nor any discussion with the occupancy at the time result in such a powerful document of demand being issued on the property owner? Question 2. If the issue was of such urgency to demand the property owner take immediate action within such a tight time frame, take so long to be received by the property owner, which was 25 days. Question 3. Why, despite the issued document stated the purpose of the document is to commence dialogue between the parties involved, every effort in writing, telephone or in person to contact the municipal surveyor has been unsuccessful to this time? Meanwhile, deadlines were approaching. Question 4. What are the municipal shire's expected response schedule timeframes given the strict deadlines placed on property owners in response to the municipal building surveyors department?
Mr Davis.
Through you, Mayor. I'll answer some of those and pass to Ms McNamara on the others. With regard to the first one, I understand, Mr Tholburn, that the offer to extend that building order has already been discussed with you with regards to that. With regards to the other questions, I thank you for raising them and we will give you a full written response to those. Like with every council, there are timeframes. We like to adhere to them. I'm sorry to hear that in this case there appears to have been a case of you chasing us and us chasing you rather than actually being able to sit down and work through it. So, Ms McNamara, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr Davis, and thank you, Mr Tholburn, for raising these issues to us today. We are committed to investigating fully and will respond to you in writing and give it the due consideration it deserves.
Thank you.
Anything for any councillors would like to ask Mr Tholburn any questions or discussion, please? Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. Mr Tholburn, is a building notice the same as a building order? Or are they both the same thing?
A building notice
is not as severe as a building order. There were numerous documents issued. A building order is normally exactly that, demanding certain steps to be taken within a time frame. That building order used other documents that support the reason for the issuing of the document and how they expected the issue to proceed, whether it be agreed with or not. I would expect if they had been issued more promptly, those 2 and 3 documents may have been issued separately because they were standalone documents. But I got the impression they had accumulated and all sent out at the same time. I have tried to explore the reason for this, and that was my initial goal. I'm trying to make contact within 24 hours of receiving the documents. So the first goal was an exploratory goal, at which I was unable to succeed, which really led me to having no option with looming deadlines as to address council. Because I believe this is one of the last meetings we have before Christmas. And by quoting a building controls clause, if the initial deadlines weren't met and with no successful communication, we would immediately fall into default, of which there is a points penalty, and it empowered the municipality's building surveyors department to be able to take action as they saw fit without any further consultation, and therefore incurring a cost on the property owner.
Thank you.
Anyone else got a question?
Any further questions, Mr. Sullivan? Yeah, Councillor Gleeson,
Just a
please.
question. Mr. Thorburn, I'm not up to the situation, obviously. You've presented 4 questions, and by doing so and having assurance from the CEO and the director, does that give you the time you need to deal with this?
I'm very thankful to the director who has confirmed an extension to allow discussion to commence as recommended by the very documents that were issued upon us from the Municipal Building Surveyors Department. I understand because that service is only in-house 2.5 days a week, and we've considered this and tried to make allowances for this. We're hoping that very quickly, as a result of today, the building inspector will revisit and see fit to further inspect the building thoroughly, of which we are and have prepared and will provide structural drawings to alleviate any concern and put beyond doubt that his conclusions from his initial inspection were based on assumptions which we can now replace with fact. So the 2 things we're trying to, first of all, we've got our extension, is for the building inspector and building surveyor to meet their obligation under their own documents to commence discussion, to allow us time to present these documents, and without having an engineer's report and a further cost being incurred by the property owner, to examine the structural drawings, because that is my qualification. A building surveyor's qualification forms part of my qualification. So I can do this with respect, and I know what they're looking for, and I can provide that so that I think they have the power to withdraw the order.
We've got another question, Mr. Sullivan, if you could quite pick up promptly, please.
I'm done.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor
Yeah, thank you.
Lucas?
So, Mr. Thorburn, the building notice and building order were virtually came at the same time
In the same envelope.
in the same envelope, and they came with only about 8 days to go when the building notice said you should conduct dialogue with the building surveyor and come to an agreement and do X, Y, Z and all that.
The inspection took place on the 26th of October. We received communication via the order on the 20th of November. On the 21st of November, we immediately tried to make communication to resolve issues moving forward. But today was the deadline. If we didn't meet the deadline or get an extension, that empowered the building surveyor to do what he saw necessary at the expense of the property owner.
Through you, Mayor, we're getting well into the extent of the operational issues. Mr. Thorburn has raised the questions. We will, 1, extend the building notice, and 2, prepare a response for Mr. Thorburn, and 3, ensure that the inspector meets with him as soon as possible.
Thanks, Mr. Davis.
Yeah, but sorry, but my question was to find out exactly what happened from the day of the inspection to the last day of the order to get something done. And there seems to be a time lapse where nothing happened for 25 days.
That's correct.
And that's just, I don't know who's to blame for that, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but it shouldn't happen. So let's learn from that going forward, that it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Thanks.
I think that's a fair question to ask.
Thanks, Councillor Lucas.
Mayor, I'm here today to not only try and
Fix the
resolve the
situation.
issue, but to bring to your attention areas that the Shire can get better. The question I ask is, between the day of the inspection, the 26th of October, and the property owner being notified on the 20th of November, what if, hypothetically, a parapet or a veranda fell down and fell onto the footpath and someone was injured? That highlights the need to reduce that delay between the inspection, which was unbeknown to the property owner, and the property owner becoming aware of it. That's where I urge the council to examine the process and see if it can get better. And that's always been my goal when working with the directors and the councillors over the last number of years. It's not to shame anybody, it's to make the system better.
Thank you, Mr. Thorburn. Are there any further questions? Yes, I'd like to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Hope we can get a suitable outcome. Thank you
Very much.
Right, thank you. Call for a motion to resume standing orders, please. Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Lockett. All those in favour, 4, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to item 2.1, the monthly financial performance report, October 2023. The Director of Corporate and Governance Services, Mr. Small. Thank you, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I commend to you the monthly financial report for the month of October. What we've done with this report is with the council, we've had a fairly comprehensive look at our year-end forecast. So we've got a satisfactory year-to-date surplus of 456,000, and we've got a satisfactory cash position at the moment of $29 million. And we're forecasting that our year-end cash position of $23 million will be very, very favourable. However, I also wish to draw your attention to the fact we've got an operating deficit of 3.4 million forecast for the end of the year. And this is primarily related to 2 matters, one being the treatment of the the Grants Commission funding that comes through each year that we received last year, this year's grant funding, last financial year, and we haven't recognised correctly whether that we can include this year's, next year's grants funding this year. So that's considered as a result of $3.4 million deficit. If we remove the Gore Kappa land transfer, which the land that we have been looking after of Crown land, that removes 2.9 million from our operating costs and from our assets. It means that we've basically made an forecast operating deficit of about $500,000, and we'll be looking at seeing how we can trim that back towards as the year progresses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Is there any question or discussion to Mr. Small before I speak a mover of the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Gleeson.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just want to see if I can get an explanation in relation to a $2.9 million adjustment. In relation to Gore Kappa. So it seems like a hell of a whack to be taken out of our asset base, and as a result of, is going to leave us with a $3.4 million deficit. Could you just explain that to me, please?
Through the net.
Mr.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor, it's basically the Gore Kappa is the Great Ocean Road Authority. They are taking transfer of all publicly owned land up and down the coast, up to Peterborough and along the Great Ocean Road. And that includes the properties that they are Crown lands within the Shire of Moy. And the value of those Crown land, which is in record, has been recognised in our books, is 2.9 million. Because we're now transferring that land to another authority, we have to remove that asset value from our books and effectively write off the cost of the value of those assets.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Any further questions or discussion?
It's just a bit
Councillor
more
Gleeson.
explanation, if I can, from Mr. Small. So the assets that are included there is the Peterborough Caravan Park.
That is correct.
Now, that was a rent that we received as the operators. So that's a figure of about 200,000 we no longer get. And that's just been transferred to the Great Ocean Road Authority.
Correct.
And in relation to the land that we own there, is there any recompense for that, or?
Yeah, so in effect, what we're the caravan park lease, we will be getting a portion of the caravan park lease because the caravan park extends across properties owned by ourselves and properties owned Crown land property. So we'll get about a quarter of that amount of money is now coming through to us. And if also we have entered an arrangement with the Gore Kappa for us to continue providing services to the community for the next coming 12 months. And that will cover all our overheads and all our direct costs, and also cover an administration fee that we have put on top to administer the cost of those services that we're managing for them. So there should be no impact on the community from the council service to the community. At the end of the 12 months, Gore Kappa is meant to take over the management of those services, but it's always open for Gore Kappa to come back and approach us to extend that if they want to, and the council can consider whether or not it wishes to do so, but effectively the arrangement for 12 months at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Small.
And just to follow up, if I can, thanks, Mr. Small. So the caravan park land that was leased or was operated by the council is now in the hands of Gore Kappa. Golf club land.
Golf club land has also gone across.
The public reserve there that we just spent $500,000 on, the Irvine Reserve, is that?
That is correct, Councillor.
And so we're still to maintain. Look, I guess where I'm going, and maybe you can answer, or maybe Director Farrell, but what's the likelihood of this being continue to stretch out along the coast? I guess we've had control, or we've operated these assets, we've maintained them, and now we don't. So where does that boundary end, or?
Through the mayor. So the previous advice to Gore Kappa and DEPA as the two lead agencies in this process has been that there is legislation that defines the current boundaries of Gore Kappa, and if there were to be any change to that, that would require legislative change. So currently the boundary is set as it is. There's no indication that it's going to move any further towards Warrnambool or in fact Port Fairy and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
So one final clarification, please, if I may. So the maintenance of all those issues, we've entered into agreement for 12 months. And that's great for the community because they know that the things are going to, rubbish is going to get picked up. But we're no longer responsible for any investment in those lands, in those areas.
Thank you. Mayor, that is correct. We're no longer responsible for we no longer have control of those land under Crown land. So we're no longer responsible for the investment in that land. We have a maintenance agreement effectively with Gore Kappa to service the area for the coming 12 months.
Thank you. Any further? Yeah, Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Small, on page 40, just a summary there of the mid-year budget review. At the bottom of that, piece of writing there's 2 other matters still to be considered. What are the next steps for those 2 matters regarding the Hawkesdale pool and the full repayment of council's loan?
Thank you, Councillor. In relation to both those matters, the first one, when this report was written, the first matter hadn't been resolved as yet, but I understand the council and the Hawkesdale Pool Committee we have come to an arrangement for the Hawkesdale Pool to be continued to be open. And there is some funding arrangement associated with that. And that hasn't been taken into account in these budget papers, finance report. And secondly, the council has raised the opportunity that we may want to repay the council loan borrowing early. 2.2 million, just over $2 million at the moment. And we have the opportunity to do that. We had a look at the terms of the loan. We can bring another report back to council at some point in the future.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a move with the office? Yeah, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Question is to Director Farrell regarding capital works. We seem to be tracking really well with capital works. See the MacArthur Splash Pad, Port Fairy Skate Park Playground, Baxter Street Playground, Streetscape Works, Woodshed. There's a lot that's happening and a lot that's looked like we're on track. How would you say we're on track for the end of this year to have most things completed that we plan to?
Thank you. Through the Mayor. Certainly from the project management office perspective, projects are well on track. So of the 14 projects that have been delivered through that, 13 are actually tracking to time and to budget. We're awaiting, the only one that's on hold is Killarney Caravan Park Septic, just awaiting advice from EPA because there's been some change to legislation around septic tanks. But other than that, projects are tracking well. And as Councillor Lockett has indicated, there are projects such as MacArthur Splash Pad, Baxter Street Playground, a number of projects that will be completed before or close to Christmas this year. And then other major projects, East Beach, we've just had confirmation on the Macca, which is a really good step forward. Some of those projects are longer in terms of their completion time, but certainly on track in terms of being last minute activity.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor.
Just to follow up to our community, as much as us in here, that the Engage Mine website is phenomenal for tracking projects. I was about to ask Director Farrell the question. I found the answer on there. So definitely encourage people to keep track of the projects on there. It's a really good website to engage with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett.
What's next then?
Right, any further? Yeah, Councillor Lucas.
Thank you. On page 72, a question from Mr. Small. Under current month operating variations, we go through from 72 to 74. The subtotal, that's a cost of 6.7 million.
That is 6.7 million, that's correct.
The cost to us. So a lot of those jobs, would they not be carryovers?
What the council and the officers did was they looked at the entire capital work program, recognising that the money brought forward for the previous financial year for the capital work program now totaled was around 32 million. And it was unlikely we were going to be able to complete all of these works in the current year. So we had a look at which projects we were going to complete within the current financial year, and the ones we didn't believe would be completed by the 30th of June. we recognise the expenditure that wasn't yet going to be expended as an adjustment to this budget. That's what we're doing here at this forecast.
So why are we calling it, if it's a carryover, why are we calling it a capital variation for the month? Because in the past, a capital variation or an operational variation for the month would be something that hasn't been identified before. Say something comes up and we tend to divide to put, I don't know, $20,000 into something or $100,000 into something, but now we get all those carryovers, pluses and minuses, are all come under the current month variations, whether it's capital or operational.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Mayor. This was part of the review of all of our capital assets, the capital projects, and we've picked up the capital variations, recognising them. We processed them this month. So not that they relate to this month in particular, but this is when we recognise that this expenditure or the expenditure variation is going to occur.
Right.
So we're using this as a tool in which to capture those variances.
So if I was Joe Blow reading this, I would see that, hang on, for the month of November, we need to find $6 million. That's how it reads, because the variation for the month of November is a $6.7 million. But anyway, take that on notice, please. I don't want to hang up all. I think we need to do things a little bit different, or maybe I need to have it explained to me differently. But in the past, the variation for a month was just for something that needs to be funded in that month, outside of what goes on in the budget and carryouts. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Dukas. Any further questions or discussion? Councillor Mead?
Thanks, Mayor. Question for Director Farrell. It's on the capital works. Any update regarding the annual female change room?
Thank you, through the Mayor. The change rooms, the builder has been engaged and works are due to commence. We are still aiming for a approximate completion in April next year.
Thank you. Any more questions or discussion on item 2.1, please? Could I seek a mover of the officer recommendation, please? 2.1, the monthly financial report, please.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Councillor Dukas. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Locke. Councillor Dukas is mover of the motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I suppose one could say it's self-explanatory. If you're a Philadelphia accountant or whatever they call themselves, but all the figures are there. It gets a bit confusing for us and probably confusing for people who read it. But with Mr. Small coming on to council, we're making changes. I think every month things are changing a bit to make it a bit easier for us and for the community. So I thank him for that. And going forward, I think within the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have a streamlined monthly financial report that everybody can understand. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Councillor Lockett is seconder of the motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just Googling Philadelphia accountant meeting and nothing came up, but yeah, it's Councillor Dukas. Didn't I put my name in there? Philadelphia accountant, random comment. Yeah, I think we're doing a great job. And it was a bit of a Dorothy Dixon to ask Director Farrell about the capital works, because I knew they were going right on target. I think it's a phenomenal job that so many capital works projects, and there's a lot of projects that have taken many years to come. You know, they're happy, so it's really good. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Does any councillor wish to speak against the officer recommendation, please? If not, I'll refer to Councillor.
No need, Mr. Mayor.
We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, for, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on now to item 2.2, the 2024-25 timetable and community consult process. I'll again call on the Director of Corporate and Government Services, Mr. Small. Thank you, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this report is really put up for community benefit so they can see the program of the budget through its process for the next 7 months. And it highlights the fact we're going to be having a community capital works presentation evening on Tuesday, the 5th of December. And then effectively it talks about when the budget will come through the various council meetings at various points, including the draft submission period, April. So thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Any questions or discussion before I seek a mover of item 2.2, please? Councillor Mead, then Councillor Purcell. Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. So just, Mr. Small, just practically, how can community groups, just in a brief comment, get involved and put forward their proposals?
Thank you very much, Councillor Mead. Through the Mayor, what we've got in place is a community consultation process similar to last year, where the community needs to elect, I think it's by the 29th of November, where they want to present something to the council, the special workshop being held with the councillors on the 5th of December, all right? And then the community will come in and explain what assets they thought would be desirable. And we've got a period until the end of January for them to make any final submissions associated with those presentations. So they might want to go away and do some work. So that's the major point of community input. Once we get down to the notice on the budget, effectively, that's really we then advertise what the draft budget's going to be, and that's in April. And at that point, you can make a submission, but it's better to get it in earlier than later.
But just to clarify, that's tomorrow. The community groups have got until tomorrow if they want to present.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Dave, through you, Mayor, I understand that this information's been sent to those community groups directly as well, but timely reminder, Councillor Mead, that it was tomorrow.
Thank you. Councillor Dukas.
Yeah, thank you. Spoke to a community group at the weekend and they knew nothing about it. So I don't know how they got contacted. So whether it's email, letter, or they were meant the guests to look at the web page, but
Through you, Mayor, I'd happily take those details on after the meeting, Councillor Dukas, and we'll be in touch with them this afternoon.
okay. I did tell them it's on the 5th, so get there.
We've done the job. Thank you.
Thank you,
Get their
Mr. Davis.
activity. I'll follow it up as well.
Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Certainly part of my question was answered through that process. Do community groups, are they required to present on the 5th of December, or can they just make a submission, provide details to councillors or straight to the council without going to the effort of presenting at that meeting?
Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, from our perspective, it would be easier for all concerned if we would get a presentation, because that could assist in developing it. But we're looking towards the end of January submission date. So I presume anything we receive by that date would work, but it wouldn't have an opportunity to present the arguments to council at that point.
Okay.
It'd be in the system.
Mr. Davis.
Through you, Mayor, of course, Councillor Purcell, if they wish to come through a councillor as well, we'd happily take that information on board. It's important to note for the community as well that the 5th of December doesn't have to be fully costed. It's us or you hearing from the community, and we can start to tease through that to give some advance warning as to how we then pull together the facts.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion, please? Well, I'd like, if somebody like to move the officer recommendation, moved by Councillor Dukas.
On the roll today.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Foster. Thank you. Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good discussion. It's called a budget timetable. Timetables are meant to keep you in line, so you don't wander off in the wrong direction. And that's all I can say about it.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. We can't have anyone wandering off.
No, we can't.
I think this is each successive budget with which I've personally been involved, the process seems to improve. So again, I think this is another step forward. It's transparent. It provides a clear pathway for community groups and individuals to have input along the way. I think there are 3 or 4 intersection points there, Mr. Small. So I'm very happy to commend this. And of course, it'd be great to see it built upon next year again.
Thank you, councillor Foster. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please? If not, I'll call on, sorry, councillor, please.
I just think in light of the concerns or the specific pointing out of dates of councillor Mead, councillor Purcell, it's come to us today, there's a closing date tomorrow, that we should be conscious of that going into the future, and that all the community groups should be reached out to well in advance. That would be just a comment that I would make. So.
Thanks, councillor Gleeson. Right, no councillor wishes to speak against the motion. I refer to
No need, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Dukas. I'll put item 2.2 to the vote. All those in favour, for, against, carried 7. Move now on to item 2.3, Audit and Risk Committee Councillor membership. Mr Small again.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is a routine report. We need to make an appointment to the Council's Audit and Risk Committee every year once the actual mayoral cycle is through. And we need to have 2 council members on this committee. And we have had expressions of interest on both Councillor Gleeson to be on this committee. So we are recommending that they are appointed to the committee.
Thank you, Mr Small. Any questions or discussion to Mr Small on this item 2.3, please? If not, I'll seek a mover. Councillor Mead. Move the motion and seeking a seconder, please. Do we have a seconder for the motion Audit and Risk Committee? Councillor Purcell. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I believe the 2 councillors that are incumbents, expressed interest to go again. It's good to have some continuity, so happy to move the motion as it sits in our books.
Thank you, councillor Mead. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second the motion and support those words. It's a good committee, and I'm sure the 2 will continue to work well with the independent members.
Thank you, councillor Purcell. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please? If not, I'll refer to councillor Mead, mover of the motion, please.
Nothing further to add. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, councillor Mead. I'll put item 2.3, the Audit and Risk Committee councillor membership to the vote. Those in favour, for, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on now to item 2.4, News and Social Media Policy. Community and Advocacy Coordinator.
Thanks, Mayor. Councillors, this policy combines 2 outdated and previous policies into one to make them a bit more streamlined because they talk to each other essentially. It really provides guidance for councillors, staff, contractors and volunteers on council's use of news media and social media for the purpose of informing and engaging the community about our services, initiatives, and it also outlines the process for response to media inquiries and use of social media accounts within council and formalises those processes.
Thank you, Mr. Woolley. Any questions or discussion on item 2.4, please? If not, I'll seek a mover of the motion, please. Councillor Mead. A seconder, councillor Lockett. Thank you. Councillor Mead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Woolley, for presenting this combined policy to us. Obviously, the recommendation is that council note the news and social media policy and seek community feedback for 28 days for adopting. So I assume this will be on the Engage Mine section of the website. Correct. Encourage those with an interest to get on board and give some feedback before it comes back to us.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Woolley. And while you're in the chamber, I just wanted to do a big shout out for the phenomenal work that you do in the social media space. I think we are very lucky at Moyne to have the great advocacy work that you do when we go to state and federal governments, but also our social media. When I started 7.5 years ago, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have our live broadcasts of the meetings, Instagram, So I think we've come a long way in that space, and I think you've done a power of work in that space too. I think it's a fantastic way that people engage with us directly. Obviously, face-to-face is our, our aim and people's preferred, but I think it's wonderful, for people that don't like to get out or can't for some reason. There's, a fantastic way for people to engage with Moyne, and so I think it's a very important policy where it can remain, respectful and people have their, comments. Obviously, many things that we do sometimes divides people, and that's the last thing we want to do. We want to bring people together and hear everyone's concerns. So, very important policy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Does any councillor wish to speak against the officer recommendation?
Clarification, Mr. Mayor. Will hard copies be made available on request?
Yes, they'll be made available through customer service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Right, Councillor Mead as mover of the motion, please.
All good, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote, please. All those in favour of item 2.4, in favour, 4, against, carried 7-0. Move on now to 2.5, the business facade grants. Call on Ms. McNamara, Director of Environment, Economy and Place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, this report provides a recommendation to award funding to 17 businesses under the Business Facade Improvement Program. The program aims to assist businesses or property owners to improve their business facade, which will ultimately improve the appeal of the local streetscape within the commercial and shopping areas of our shire. This year, the program was well received, and so that we are able to meet budget, the recommendation includes funding of $31,317, which will provide for 52% of the total amounts that have been requested through the funding stream. The recommendation does provide councillors with the full amount that has been requested. We have provided further information on what that 52% looks like. The recommendation is before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. Questions or discussion regarding item 2.5, please? Yeah, Councillor Mead and Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. McNamara, just to clarify, obviously this is the amount that they requested from council. The total project spend for the business community, should it be granted today? Let's clarify what that might be.
Through you, Mayor, in terms of the full total of funding requested or the full benefit?
The full benefit.
Sure. We are forecasting from the investment received through this program to be about $147,000, which would nearly double our investment ratio, I guess.
Any further questions or discussion, please, before I seek a move? Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Fully support the program. I think it's a great program and it works really well. The amount requested, we're saying we're going to fund, under this recommendation, we're going to fund 52%, which is half of what is requested. Would any of the projects now not proceed because we're only, or do you believe any would not proceed, since we're only funding 50% of what they requested?
Through you, Mayor, uncertain whether that would be fatal to the project. That wasn't a query on the forms, but we would encourage and support those businesses as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Question to you, Ms. McNamara, in relation to the requirements around the program. Are successful recipients required to use local trades?
Through you, Mayor, encouraged to use local trades. That would be a normal policy that we employ through Mine Shire, and we're hoping that they're available to do the works for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms McNamara. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover of item 2.5? If not, I'll seek it and I move it. Yeah, councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move a motion that funds up to 75% of that requested read it out. Council funding of 31,317 and seeks a variation of 14,601, bringing the total allocation to 45,919 to support the 17 eligible applications for the program.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Do we have a seconder to that motion, please?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, thank you, councillor Dukas. Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Obviously understand that a few of these similar type funds were trimmed in this year's budget. I think on a case-by-case basis, once applications have been received, we can reassess what budget we've set, looking at the merit of all those applications that we've received from right across the Great Shire of Moyne. There's no doubt that this is a real tangible fund where we can see the difference as we drive up our main streets of all our towns that their businesses receive funding. So, and it's a real practical way that we can support our small businesses within Moyne. So, happy to increase it from the 52% recommended up to 75%, which brings it closer to the previous year's amounts when the budget was formally 50,000. Thanks.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Councillor Dukas, the seconder of the motion, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Along with councillor Mead's remarks, there used to be 50,000. Things got a bit tight, so we dropped it to 30. The request for funding is still strong. You can just tell by the list that it's a huge cross-section of the community, not only the towns, but, you know, the different businesses. And although I'm a stickler for I shouldn't say wasting money, for keeping a tight budget, I think increasing it up to 45,000, 75%, is something that we can afford at this stage, because the year's not over, and towards the end of the year, we always seem to find a little bit of extra money and come in either with a small surplus or thereabouts. So in the interest of those people who would like to get on and get a little bit of work done to their facades, etc., or the shop fronts, I think it's a good compromise, that small increase, and I envisage that all the councillors will support it, but I'm not quite sure whether that'll happen.
Thank you, councillor Dukas. Does any councillor wish to speak against this motion, please?
I'd like to make a point rather than
Yes,
speak
councillor
against.
Gleeson.
I reiterate all the remarks that this is a wonderful thing that we do, and we should in any way possible support our small business. I think that's fantastic. And, you know, to increase the money, awesome. But I just reckon that we need to be conscious of this at budget time. You know, that I've only been here 3 years. The 2 years come out of COVID. We made a decision that we were going to try and support small businesses as addition to COVID because they all struggled. And at the start of the year, we said, well, maybe we need to trim that back a little bit because things are tight. So, you know, I'm happy to support this because if we can afford it, good on us. But, you know, just something that we should be conscious of when we're having our budget discussions, I think.
Thank you, councillor Gleeson. Any councillor Purcell?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll be speaking against it and voting against it, and foreshadowing a motion along the lines of the officer recommendation. My reasons for voting against it is basically similar to councillor Gleeson's, even though his was a comment rather than the vote against. We considered this thoroughly through our budget process. We decided on a figure, and I think that is when we considered all our projects, all of the things we need to do, we set aside a figure that we felt this was adequate. And I believe for that reason, we should honour our process we went through and support the officer's recommendation that has come back and given us a figure that, or used a figure that we allocated in the budget to put a 52% of funding application on here. So I'll be voting against it and have foreshadowed a motion if it doesn't.
Where do we go now? Oh, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd actually like to speak for the
Yes.
motion, if I may. I hear what Councillor Purcell is saying, and yes, I think there is merit in sticking to what we said we would do. But I also think good leaders are flexible, and business, particularly small business, is in the thick of some difficult times with the pressure of cost of living and so forth. We don't need to go into all of those. We know it well. We talk a lot in Moyne-Shire about agriculture, and so, and we talk a lot about big industry, and rightly so. But sometimes we overlook what I think is the engine room of our regional economy, which is small business. And this is something small that we can do to support our small businesses, and we all benefit from that. So I'm very happy to support the alternate motion that Councillor Mead has presented to us.
Thank you. Any further councillors wish to speak against the motion, please? I refer to Councillor Purcell. Do you? Councillor Mead, sorry.
Yeah, he's James it up again.
Yeah,
So
We'll win him over.
the motion before you is the alternative motion.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
Right.
right, needs to be put to that.
Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, thanks all councillors for their comments. I understand the different points of view, and thanks officers for presenting the reports to us. I just reiterate that we do spend money on reports and plans, etc., in council from time to time, and some of those are worthy. But this is an actual legitimate investment where we can physically see the improvements in our small business and the main streets of our town. So, all the streets of our town's business district. So happy to put forward the 75% funding allocation. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate that it is a very worthy cause. I understand Councillor Purcell's issue with funding and budgets, etc., and I admire him for that, because we should stick to a tight budget. But there comes a time when sometimes we've got to massage a few things, and this is a small increase, and I think it'll be well accepted. Let's not forget that the total amount is about 147,767. So not a bad swag of money to get spent in and around these little towns. So well done to those businesses, and if we can increase our contribution to them, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. I'll put item 2.5 to the vote, please. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 6-0. Those in favour,
6-1.
6-1, sorry. Those in 4 was Councillor Lockett, Mead, Foster, Smith, Gleeson and Dukas, and those against Councillor Purcell. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 2.6, the Stock Underpass Fund application. There is 2 in this motion, Swans Lane, Allensford, and Gordons Lane, Ellerslie. I'll call on Director of Assets and Communities, Ms Farrell. Thank you.
Thank you, through the Mayor. So this, as the Mayor has indicated, 2 applicants to the Stock Underpass funding scheme. There's a total pool of $30,000, and the application amounts are for $10,000 each, which is in accordance with the policy. They are significant in terms of the impact for community, in that the cattle movements range from 500 respectively in the first application and 2,000 head of cattle in the second. There are benefits both in terms of risk, but also road preservation, farm productivity, but also importantly school safety, in that they're both on bus routes, and a significant cost to those applicants in terms of the cost to undertake those works ranging from 230,000 to 265 for both submitters. So the recommendation is before you to seek council support for those two applications.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Any questions or discussion before I seek a move of item 2.6? If not, I'll seek a move of
Just a quick one, it's good to see that the local businesses are employed to do these work. Normally it was a big company, I think, from well out of the Shire that used to do it all, but now there's a local company that does it, which is great. Good on.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Any further questions or discussion? I seek a move of Councillor Mead. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Mead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ms Farrell, for presenting this. Yes, so 10,000, the recommendation is 10,000 contribution for both of these applications, one down Swans Lane and one on Ballangee there. So you're totaling 2,500 head of cattle, which would be off our rural roads, increasing the safety for our users, but also enabling better access for both sides of the property for our agricultural industry, which is our biggest industry within Moy. Also our biggest employer when you include our manufacturing sector in agriculture. So I think now over the time that this has been introduced, should be over 20 underpasses that have been installed, assuming these get approved today. So I think it's been good investment in safety and agriculture.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Gleeson, the seconder of the motion.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just probably reiterating Councillor Foster's comments in relation to the previous matter. You know, here's an opportunity where we can support our agricultural industry. And the two things that stand out for me, both applications in this case, they're both on school bus runs. You know, and I guess Councillor Mead alluded to that, taking stock off roads to provide safety. For me, it's a great outcome, so happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Gleeson. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll refer it back to the mover, Councillor Mead, to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Along with 2.5 head of cattle off the road, there'll also be about 10 hours a week that traffic won't have to wait for cattle to pass. So proving good flow of traffic on our rural roads.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. I'll put item 2.6 to the vote. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 7-0. Move on now to item 2.7, stock underpass fund application, the Terang Framlingham Road to Sisters. Again, Ms Farrell.
Thank you. So through the Mayor, similar to the last report, this application is also for a funding request of $10,000 to that same fund. In this instance, there's 1,600 head of cattle, and also it's on a school route. So all those other elements that Councillor Mead presented in the context of the last report also stand for this one. So the recommendation is that Council endorse that application.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Any questions or discussion? Yes, Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Ms Farrell, if there are any, I understand this expires the allocation. For instance, if there are any might be late applications, what's the advice to that?
Thank you, Councillor Mead. So through the Mayor, we are aware of another application that is currently under preparation. The intent from officers would be to present that to Council for consideration and to either seek direction on a variation to Council's current budget process, or if Council were not of a view to do that, then it would need to be deferred to the next funding round. Noting that similar to the business facade program, this is also a program that had a reduction to the overall grant funding in this budget year.
Thank you, Ms Farrell. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover of 2.7, please? If not, I'll seek a mover of move by you, Councillor Dukas, a seconder, please. Councillor Mead. Thank you, Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was spoken previously, the other two applications, this is a similar one. It's great for farming, takes a lot of pressure off added staff, takes pressure off road users. Some people get angry that they don't like giving way to cattle. Naturally, cattle have priority, as they should. However, this will alleviate that. And I just take note that by supporting this today, that's 30,000 spent by us. But the total spend is 720. So the community out there is going to spend 720,000 to look after our rates. They'll probably pay thousands and tens of thousands in rates, but now they've taken the big step and spending hundreds of thousands to put in an underpass, and we are giving them 10,000. So, you know, 10,000 is a lot of money, but gee, we're getting value for buck here. So well done to those people.
Thanks, councillor Dukas. Councillor Mead, a second in the motion, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and that very well said there by councillor Dukas. I agree with those comments. Another 1,600 head of cattle for roads and labour efficiency, improving our safety. So it's another great application.
Thank you, councillor Mead. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, could I go for a councillor Dukas point of clarification, if I could? Was this program ever partially funded by the state government?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Early days.
Okay, look, it's a great program, and I think the state government should be encouraged to come back into the scene and contribute to some of these. I think it's a good thing and it'd be well worth doing.
Thank you, councillor Purcell.
If they didn't waste it all on the tunnel, we could all have an underpass.
Thanks, councillor
That's
Dukas.
their underpass.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah.
Any other councillor wish to speak for or against the motion, please? Councillor Dukas.
Look, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, it's all been said. We all know how good it is. Well done to council and to the farmers. I'll put it to the vote.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, 4, against, carried 7. Thank you. Move on to item number 2.8, state of the assets. Again, Director of Asset and Community, Ms. Farrell. Thank you.
Thank you. So this report, councillors, is presenting our inaugural State of the Assets report. And the background context to that is through the changes to the Local Government Act, all councils were required to develop asset management plans and asset management frameworks. Our council has done that and had that approved in 2022. In addition to the asset plan and framework, we also have 6 sub-plans which relate to our specific assets, and they are buildings, roads, open space, commercial, coastal and drainage. So each of those sub-plans has an improvement plan attached to it. That's what we will be working through over the coming years. Fair to note that our level of maturity in terms of our asset management is low, and so we're starting from a low base, but there's lots of scope to make improvement. So the areas of focus are really around strategic financing, including future asset rationalisation opportunities, internal capacity building with our staff in terms of their knowledge about asset management, processes and systems, general risk and other asset considerations and strategic governance. So the report is before you, seeking adoption of the current state of the asset report, the intent being that we will annually report to council on our progress in line with the state of the assets framework and plan.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Any questions or discussion before I seek a move with the officer? Yeah, councillor Gleeson.
Thanks, Mayor. Director, given that this is our toe in the water stage, are there councils around us that may be more advanced? Is there an opportunity to share knowledge, work together, develop some strategy to get, I guess, well, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question, councillor Gleeson, through the mayor. Yes, and certainly we are undertaking that opportunity, particularly through the joint Coastal Connect business transformation program that we are in partnership with Corangamite and Warrnambool on. We are also looking at how we might progress in terms of a shared service delivery model into the future, where that may even include shared staff across asset management. The current challenge is that we are all at different levels of maturity in terms of both our asset approach to asset management, our systems and software processes and the like, but even also our staffing complement. So we're working through that at the moment with the intent that we could eventually reach a point where we would undertake shared service delivery of assets, and that would be having, you know, like systems, like software and so forth.
Thank you. Yeah,
Just to
councillor.
follow up, I know, thanks for that, because working together, saving somewhere, you know, 2 of the 6 asset classes are our building and our commercial instance. You know, through this process, will we be given the opportunity to evaluate what we've actually got and perhaps look at the excess, the things that we are paying to maintain that we probably don't need?
Yes, thank you, councillor Gleeson, through the mayor. One of the components of the asset framework in terms of the improvement opportunity is to look at asset rationalisation and those opportunities where we can streamline both the asset ownership and asset maintenance, and subsequently the impact that will have on reducing our renewal gap overall. So we're working closely with the corporate services team in terms of the delivery of a buildings a property framework, which will include an asset rationalisation criteria. So that is certainly one of the elements of the improvement plan in the asset plans.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a move of item 2.8? If not, I'll seek a mover of the officer recommendation of 2.8, state of the assets. Councillor Gleeson, we have a seconder, please. We have a seconder. Oh, Councillor Foster, thank you. Councillor Gleeson.
Thanks, Mayor. Just given that I was interested in certain elements and asked a few questions, so it's fitting that I should move that we accept it. Because to me, it's step, you know, and yourself and your officer recognise that this morning. So there's a lot of work to be done. But, you know, we operate over 30 businesses or 37 businesses with the Shire, and 30 of them lose money. So this to me says, let's really look at what we do, what we can invest in, needs invested in, what can we unload, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of real positives for me. As you said, it's under the LGA requirements that need to be updated. And I think it's a great first step. And probably come budget time next year, maybe it's a consideration for the team to be properly resourced that we can further, you know, develop. So happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Gleeson. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I agree this is an excellent first step, and I worry what we were doing before, to be honest. So it seems to have unearthed a lot of maturity that needs to happen in terms of our investment management. I also can foresee a time where we will have to resource this in a better way. The flip side of that is our community assets are really important to our community. So they support our communities, provide spaces for them to come together, roads, all kinds of things. So it is a crucial piece of work. It looks like a mammoth piece of work that's happened already, and so much to go from here. But I'm very happy to see the improvement and the streamlining, and the outcome, of course, will be much better for our community generally.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion, please? If not, I'll refer to the mover of the motion, Councillor Gleeson.
Just to reiterate, you know, we're going into budget process where the community groups come before us, and they all have big asks, etc. as far as, you know, we want this, we want that. You know, it's a real good reminder that we do have a lot of assets that we need to maintain, and just the scope of the 6 stars, 6 classes: building, road infrastructure, commercial, coastal, marine, drainage, open space. There's a lot of things that people want us to invest in. This just really highlights the magnitude of it. and the importance of the document. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor Gleeson. I put item 2.8 to the vote. Those in favour, 4. Against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 2.9, the 2020-22/23 Community Asset Annual Report. Again, all on Director of Assets and Community, Ms. Carroll. Thank you.
Thank you, through the Mayor. This report is procedural in that it's an annual report required in relation to our community asset committees, of which council have 5. There is a terms of reference by which those committees operate, and the purpose of this report is really to provide some information to council in terms of how the committees are performing, the composition of their membership, the usage of those facilities, and strategic planning and financial position of those committees. There's a series of attachments for each individual committee in terms of their annual return. I think one of the key things to highlight in discussing these committees is how we can continue to support them, and to that end, we're looking at undertaking some governance training with these committees early in the new year and going through that consultation process with them at the moment. So the recommendation for council is that they that you receive a note of the report as it is.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Any questions or discussion before I seek a mover of the item 2.9?
Just without a question, just discussion.
Yes.
Just looking at all the reports, it just highlights the enormity of the value of our volunteers. You know, and I'm sure that whoever moves will probably speak to that, but I keep saying the best things that happen in the Shire are on the back of volunteers. And here we are asking individuals, groups across the Shire to maintain and look after and run and provide and all the things that they do. So congratulations and thanks to all the communities and the volunteers on those committees. So
Thanks, councillor Gleeson. Any further questions or discussion before I seek a mover of item 2.9? If not, councillor Mead. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Foster. Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Ms. Farrell, for presenting. Yeah, just as councillor Gleeson alluded to, I wouldn't have any of these committees if it wasn't for people putting their hand up to get involved. And I thank them first for willing to do that. And my involvement with one of these committees is Noranda, and we sat there a little while back at the AGM, and we waited a little while after a phone call to a farmer who was just locking the cows in, get there quick so we had the quorum to actually have the AGM, and he did, and he ended up president. So it just shows it just shows the importance of people who turn up, but it'll also encourage the next people to put their hand up as well. It's always the busy people that get these roles, and there's still a lot of people out there who would be great for their community to become involved in these groups as well. So they are very important. They bring the different clubs within a single facility together that work together for improvements to that facility, cooperate with services to that facility. So we certainly thank all those that are currently involved, and really encourage people within these communities mentioned to ask for questions to those who are involved, and we're really appreciative if they could get involved as well in future years.
Thanks, councillor Mead. Councillor Foster.
Thanks, Mayor. I think the spirit of volunteerism is you give what you can, but I think these committees require a different level of commitment. You've got to be a lot more consistent, show up regularly. There's a lot of obligations on some of these committee members. So I really want to call them out and acknowledge them, especially because it is a big commitment to do it. That said, I think there's also some opportunity there for people who are interested to come along and increase these skills and their knowledge base. It's a different way to give back. So I'm really pleased to hear that we're offering the governance support and the governance training in 2024. I think that's really important. But in the meantime, I just want to thank those committees for their time, their knowledge, their expertise.
Thank you, councillor Foster. Any councillor wish to speak against the motion or offers a recommendation, please? If not, I'll call on the mover of the motion, councillor Mead, to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'd also just like to thank the members of our team who go out to these community meetings and assist with the volunteers and getting various bits of paperwork in and lodging service requests on behalf of those committees. So thanks to them.
Thank you, councillor Mead. I'll put item 2.9 to the vote. Those in favour 4, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Item 2.10, bushfire preparedness. Again, call on Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Ms McNamara. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. This report provides an outline of some of the measures that we have underway in response to the recent declaration on the 20th of November by the CFA for the commencement of the 23-24 fire danger period. We know that this season is particularly extreme, and in our preparedness, the council and its team have been working to assist our community through a number of measures, including free green waste, inspecting properties for fire safety. We've also been training our staff so that they're enabled to respond and recover operations. And we've also got an emergency management roster, so we're at the ready to assist when required. We'd like to take the opportunity to promote the awareness to maintain safety in a particularly dangerous season coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms McNamara. Before I seek a mover of the officer recommendation, are there any questions or discussion? Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Ms McNamara. It's just a question regarding roadside grazing, and obviously it's a key tool that we can use to reduce the fire risk and supply of fuel on a lot of our rural roads. If the neighbouring landholders, farmers aren't currently doing that, what can we do to help the fire risk there?
Thank you, Councillor Mead, through you, Mayor. We do have a process for roadside grazing for nearby property owners. I believe that's available on the website, but if anybody wants to reach out, we're sure to send them the information to enable that to occur.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion, please? Yeah, councillor Gleeson.
Just a quick thing, because I'm very much aware of it, that fire restrictions are now in force. So, you know, just be conscious of that, no burn-offs.
Thank you, councillor Gleeson.
Across the Shire.
Including I'll seek a mover of the officer recommendation of 2.10 bushfire preparedness. A seeker mover, councillor Gleeson. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Mead. Thank you, councillor Gleeson.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, we're all aware it's going to be a hot summer. You know, El Nino, all those things that we've been. Just want to congratulate Ms McNamara and your team just for being proactive. You know, we can sit back and go, oh, well, nothing's happened, and all of a sudden we're in January. We know there's potential disaster imminent. We know we've had time now to prepare, and so, you know, good on you for being proactive that we're in November. And also just through the staff, you know, the training, the you know, the roster and all those things. It says to the community that we're aware of our responsibilities and we're putting these measures in place. So well done.
Thanks, councillor Gleeson. Councillor Mead, seconder.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And thanks, Ms McNamara and her team for bringing this forward after council requested a bit of an update on where we're at for the season. But I would encourage this to be an annual report to council on where we're at with bushfire preparedness. And also just like to take time to thank all our CFA members out there within the Shire that are also doing burn-offs, roadside burning across the Shire as we speak probably, and have been doing it for a few weeks now. So thanks to those who put their hand up and get involved with that, take time off their farm or their work to be volunteering for the CFA, helping keep our community safe.
Thank you, councillor Mead. Any councillor wish to speak for or against the motion, please? Or the opposite recommendation? If not, I'll call on councillor Gleeson as mover of the motion, please.
No need, Mayor.
Thanks. I'll put item 2.10 to the vote. Those in favour, 4, against, carried 7-0. Thank you. Move on to item 3.1. Mayor and councillor activities, please. Comments or questions? Any comments or questions on the activities for last month, please? Councillor Purcell, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just the Remembrance Day services. Councillors got involved in a number of those, and I attended the one in Port Fairy, and it was really encouraging to see the number of people there, but not only the number, but the number of families and the number of young children and school children there. It does go to show that there is significant support for the Remembrance Day service, and it's something that I think it's excellent to be involved in. And secondly, on the 17th of November, the VLGA training, I understand Councillor Duke has represented the Shire in that. I was wondering whether he could give us a report on that training on 17th of November.
Thank you, councillor Purcell. It was an interesting day, and it was attended by the Minister of Local Government, who told us that she and her department are going to go away and work on changing some parts of the Local Government Act in relation to how councils operate, council behaviour and community behaviour, etc. I found that what was spoken about mostly concerned inner city councils. Some of the things they were concerned about was individual behaviour. Well, no one condones individual bad behaviour, but when a community gets upset, none of those councillors there representing their councils put their hand up and said, well, we've done something really stupid, that's why they're upset. It's always somebody else's fault. Whereas we had community or public participation today, we've had it over the years. I can't remember anybody getting really upset and going off at the council. Sometimes they're disappointed and angry, but they've always been respectful. And it'll be interesting to see the change in the Local Government Act, and maybe the CEO can, explain it a bit better, because I think he's been to a more higher official meeting than the one I went to. But, country Victoria doesn't have the issues that Melbourne have. They've got fringe groups of all sorts, left, right, in the middle, on top, underneath. They're all there. And to change it, and I hate to see it change, where we're all put in the same basket. So hopefully we'll be able to have some input into the changes early in the new year, and that the changes are made in a way that don't hinder rural councils from doing their job, because they've got, some councils are making more money out of their parking meters than we collect, or our whole budgets. Times are tough up here and everybody knows it. We're all trying to do the right thing, whether it's a community member, like we said before, the volunteers. It's not easy, but we're all chipping in to have a go. I just hope that Local Government Act changes that the minister's looking at or proposes to implement doesn't make life harder for us, that's all. So if the CEO would elaborate on his LG Pro, whatever it was, meeting.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Very similar lines. The LG Pro meeting was a gathering of CEO and directors at a forum last week. This was also a topic of discussion. We understand that the Minister for Local Government will bring legislation in early next year to introduce some governance and integrity standards across the state's 79 councils. And they're doing so in which to try and encourage and have controls to encourage further quality candidates to put their hand up for next year's elections. There are a number of elements associated with what's being put forward. There are no details in to that extent yet, and clearly we'll have an opportunity to comment on those when that is brought into the new year. Some of those reforms will introduce mandatory training for elected representatives, uniform codes of conduct, and strengthened powers for the minister to address councillor conduct in the event that they need to. So there are a number of things that we will have to work through once we get the full details. But there is a lot of change in the works proposed, and we look forward to seeing them coming out for councils such as ours to have a say.
Thanks, Mr. Davis. Any further probably questions on the Mayor and Councillors' reports? Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Other question for Councillor Dukas, just with regard to the Warrnambool Airport, and the Woolsthorpe Wind Farm. Towers being granted the tallest ones that we were going to.
Yes.
What impact does that have on the airport?
The impact would be that now the airport has to talk to CASA and I think some other authority about changing the safe altitude or landing altitude, I think they call it. Not a good outcome, considering that the panel with the Willatook one said no, don't interfere with the airport, and this panel decided too bad, work it out for yourselves, which isn't good because the airport's going ahead in leaps and bounds. It needs a lot of funding to take the next step, but there's been a great increase, and there will be a great increase in the number of flying, not so much flying fly out, but fly from to the gas plant, etc. The helicopter, you go there, you'll see helicopters twice a day, and apparently there's more coming. And if anything's starting to happen with the offshore wind farms, it'll get even busier. So Moonshire and Warrnambool need to stick together on this. And I think I discussed it with the CEO a couple of weeks ago about joint funding, or putting in an application for joint funding to see if we can get the tarmac upgraded to take bigger and heavier planes, which will not only help industry, but it'll also help with tourism. So, you know, Portland gets their ships. There's no reason why planes can't fly into Warrnambool and people bust down the Great Ocean Road up to the Grampians, etc. But as it stands now, it does need a significant upgrade. There are upgrades going on with the apron, etc., around the terminal, but they're just minor things that are happening. But given the right funding, it'll really put this district on the map.
So what you're saying is the turbines at Woolsthorpe have had an effect on the airport?
Yes, not as yet, but it will, because they've got to go to CASA, and CASA got to do their reporting, etc. And if they have to change the altitude, which I'm led to believe has to change, then it will have an effect.
Mr. Davis.
Through you, Mayor, just clarification. I assume we've moved on from the councillor reports and through the notice of motions to general matters.
No, we're still on Mayor and Councillors' reports, sorry.
Yep, I'm not sure where that item was in that regard. So,
Well,
yeah, did I miss that?
Yeah, what's the date there?
Page 22.
The 13th.
13th of
Stand
November.
corrected.
That's where it came from.
Right, any further discussion? Right, there's no councillor notice of motion. General matters, please.
Yeah, I'll start on that one.
Councillor Lockett, Councillor Foster, Councillor Dukas. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Once, big shout out to the Koroit show and the Porphyry show. Amazing events, very well attended. They were flourishing. And we are currently, I don't.
Are you going?
Okay. Want to speak about these little, everyone can hold up their little cookie they've got on their table. Respectives. So we're currently in the period of 16 days of activism against gendered violence. So alarming statistics that just reading up on this year alone. So on average, one Australian female is murdered a week. And this year, it's every 5 days, yet still men are the problem and the cause of this. So really wanted to highlight the activism which Moyne is doing, but what the country's doing about a massive, massive problem, which is often not spoken about. It's not an easy topic to speak about, but I think one that should be spoken about. So 2 in 5 women, 39% of women have experienced violence since the age of 15. These statistics are absolutely horrendous and disgusting, and I think they should be spoken about. And what is our, society doing, but what is Moyne doing to, assist in this process? We know that women in leadership roles helps preventing these stereotypes of gendered kind of roles, and men calling out inappropriate behaviour. So I call upon everyone in the room and everyone listening to call out inappropriate behaviour when you hear it or see it, because as a society, we're not heading in the right direction in this space. So that's what I want to speak about.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. And can I just briefly thank Councillor Lockett for those remarks, because the more we talk about it, the better the outcome. So thank you. My shout out is much more lowbrow, although not as certainly very exciting as Councillor Dukas alluded to earlier. Both Councillor Dukas and Mayor Smith and I attended the opening of the Croydon barbecue area at the weekend. The lure of the sausages got some of us, but it's,
Yes, they do.
But what a fabulous area! And I just wanted to acknowledge the Croydon Lions and also the Rail Trail Committee for their work. It's a terrific area now, playground, skate park, supported by council, and what a great asset, not only for Croydon, but for the broader community. So if you haven't been down there, go and have a look. Great area for kids' barbecues and family functions.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Yes, a great spot now, and just great to see what dedicated volunteers can do. It's fantastic. Councillor Duke.
Thank you. Well, the barbecue's been talked about. So the Purnham had their type of big bash on the weekend. Went out on Sunday. They had players from all over Victoria there. It was won by a couple of local lads from Russell's Creek against the 2 Mortlake boys. All I can say is it was a huge success. Huge. I mean, and it was a wet day, but there were people everywhere. It went on a bit longer than they anticipated, but they had seniors there, they had ladies matches, they had girls under 11, etc., all there. So I'll just reiterate the fact that we need to get some change rooms into the Purnham Rec Reserve. The comments from some of the supposed more elite players from Bendigo and Geelong about the state of the oval, how good it is. There was a pretty good cricketer there, don't know his name, but Peter McDonald was telling me, who knows his way about cricket pitches, and he said that pitch is as good as you'll get anywhere. And he plays in Geelong and Melbourne and that. So it's a credit to the Purnham boys, and a credit to the Shire for being smart enough to support them in their endeavour to get that pitch, and to let them manage it the way they did. It was great. So a shout out to them. And in general, over the last month or 6 weeks in the press, we've had a lot of sports people, especially young women, winning things all over the world. And I think we should do something about it in recognition. Now, we've had champions win, not only athletes, but shooters and other things. And there was a girl from Macarthur then, she came second in the world triathlete or something. Pentathlon. Well, there you go. Second in the world. So we should do something about recognising those people.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Remind us of that, and we're sure we'll take it up. Any further general matters, please? If not, no urgent business. Right, we'll move on to the CEO meeting schedule and activity report, please. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. commend the meeting schedule to you. If I was to call out anything there, two major ones to attend with the joint state and local government monthly CEO forum, where some of the matters we discussed earlier and reforms were discussed. The second one would be the MAB Rural and Regional Forum, where Plan Victoria and its impending release was also discussed amongst CEOs and planning directors across the state. And we await the formal details, what that looks like and how it relates to Victoria's housing statement. So we can open that up for a submission or otherwise. So that would be the two in that regard. Happy to take questions on that or first and then go to the activities report.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Mead.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Mr. Davis, the Regional Development Australia meeting you had on the 26th of October, South West Committee. Was there any practical outcomes there for my child?
Through you, Mayor. I actually think that was in person, not virtual. So we're out at Hamilton for that one. So I'll make a correction there. Practical, we did see industry best practice with Waltana Farms, I think they're called, out at Hamilton, who are putting together an extremely viable product that they can ship internationally around the production of a certain type of organic flaxseed, and also ingredients that they'll be able to put into to help with the assistance and production of oat milk and almond milk as well. Often in a room full of dairy farmers, I appreciate that could be construed one way or another.
It's not milk.
Important to note, which is something I didn't know at the moment, is those types of milks need ingredients that come from overseas to make them the product that they are. So this is an opportunity to have them actually processed within Southwest Victoria. So tours like that are critical and very worthwhile for CEOs and others to get the view of what's happening around and what government can do to assist. That's been a 5 to 10 year one in the making. Some other things that came out of that meeting was the Great South Coast Economic Futures update, looking to really ramp up again the call with regards to the broader Dharma migration scheme and opening up for assistance for particularly farmers and workers, and the key worker housing, of which Moyne's been at the forefront about imminent announcements about those funding guidelines that are to open up. But it was a terrific day to get out and just see what others are doing. So thank you for calling that out. It was quite an interesting exercise for us.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any further questions on this team? Yeah, Councillor Purcell.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just if we could, Mr. Davis, go back to the minister's proposed changes to local government. Do we have any idea of consultative process the minister will go through, or if she will, or if it will mean changes to the Local Government Act and therefore have to go through Parliament? Do we have any idea where that goes?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Purcell. The consultation process, I am unaware of the steps, but I do know it will result in changes to the Local Government Act. Right. So there will be the parliamentary process, I'm certain. As to what consultation occurs prior to that, we haven't been given that details yet. The intention is that they would go through to around the April sitting for some legislative process. Thank you.
Right. Any further questions or discussion on the CEO's meeting schedule? If not, thank you for that report. So this concludes our ordinary council.
What about the
through you, Mayor? There's the activities report component now.
Sorry.
So a couple of council's favourite part of the agenda.
We're beginning of the CEO big time.
So on that note, kicking off, just a couple of things to highlight that's come through already today with regard to construction season, and Moyne is at work. You'll see some Moyne at work signs out there too to try and highlight the work being done by our great teams. The second stage of the Macarthur precinct project around the splash pad. The slab's been poured there, that's underway. The Koroit drainage works are underway. Or work has also begun on the Baxter Street Port Ferry Playground, which thank you, Councillor Purcell, for being at the sod turning the other day. And the road program, this is the time of year around the road program, so you'll see crews out and about right across our vast shire. I'll commend the rest of the report and happy to take questions.
Thanks, Mr Davis. Any questions? Councillor Duke.
While the CEO is on a roll, the growing regions and the application for Koroit. Is it good news?
Through you, Mayor, very much so. It's a highly competitive process. A number of projects have been knocked out, but we were informed late Friday or early Friday, sorry, that we're through the first significant post there and have been asked to submit a full bid. Director Farrell, if there's anything else you'd like to add to that one?
Through the Mayor, just probably to note that's due by the 15th of January, so we're working on that already, and we would know the outcome of that by about March, April.
Right.
Councillor Foster.
Can I just, for those following along at home,
Yeah.
Mayor Smith, I don't think we mentioned the project itself, so which is the Koroit Streetscape project that you're talking about.
Yes.
Lucas.
Thanks, Councillor Foster, for the clarification. Right, any further question on the CEO activities report? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a question, sorry, without notice, apologies, but in relation to community care, the statistics for the month of October, when we compare this 2023 with the prior year, it seems that demand for community care is really going up. So if I can just cite a couple of stats here, respite hours went from 125 in October 2022 up to 587 this year. What else we got? Travel time in hours went from 54 to 92. Home care hours went from 871 hours to 1,066. So it's obviously an increase in demand for our community services. Have we put extra resources into this, or is this our staff doing more with what they have available?
Through you, Mayor, I'll take that one on notice, Councillor Foster. If what I would add is that these are funded externally in many respects, so funding would match resourcing. So if the need has gone up, the resourcings are brought in to match. The challenge we have, like every council in this space, is staff. If we do lose staff, often getting staff back in is a broader challenge. But we can come back to you at a workshop with some more detail around those changes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yeah, Councillor Mead.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr Davis, with regard to the reading the work and play paragraph there in economic development and tourism, how we've had 100 registrations from backpackers, 22 of them have been employed, businesses in Port Fairy, and they're staying at South Lodge. So I think that's, first of all, it's a great result. Well done to the team for promoting that. I think it's only in its second year. It's hugely popular, and that will result in a lot of businesses being able to hopefully operate full capacity rather than be restrained by staff numbers. But what's the opportunity if people still want to get on board with that?
Through you, man. Thank you, Councillor Mead, for raising that, and it's kicked off as of this week. There are lodges moving in. There is still opportunity. The portal is still open, as I understand it, as are the registrations of interest. So it's live throughout that process. And I would say in reverse, the credit is to this council that last year took the decision to make that lodge available versus, putting it out as a summer accommodation rental, and it's been very well received by our businesses in enabling them to offer a fuller service as we approach the summer surge.
Thank you, Mr Davis. Any further questions on the CEO? Yeah, Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Under contracts report, it's got here pop-up recording studio. So Can someone tell me what a pop-up recording studio is?
Through you, Mayor. Could defer to councillor Lockett here if we like.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, pop-up recording studios. Lots of recording equipment these days. You can have a little interface, which is a little box and a laptop, and you can set up the studio. We've got one set up here right now. So, recording it, you can record acoustic guitars or a band or all those sorts of things with minimal equipment. Whereas back in the day, you'd need a whole room full of stuff. But so to record, young and up and coming artists, which the youth team have done the last few years.
So it's like a little tape recorder.
Yeah, let's call it that. Yeah.
So people start playing in the corner, they set it up and they tape it.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, it's a part of our youth program funded through the Freezer initiative. And it forms part of its operational budget.
So is it a disc that we get out the other end or a stick or what is it?
Yeah, it's data, so it's digital, but yeah, you could print it on vinyl if you wanted, or CDs, but yeah, it's essentially data. But then you can obviously these days streaming and things like that, so people can, it's really easy to put their music online and things like that. But yeah, if they wanted to print units, if you like, CDs or vinyl, you can do that as well.
Righto, so councillors, come Christmas party, I want you all together, sing Merry Christmas.
Thanks, councillor Lockett, for that clarification.
We'll record it.
Gracious, thank you. Any further questions on, yes, councillor Foster?
One more from me, for the CEO, just in relation to the arts and culture strategy. I see there have been several sessions of community engagement, still a couple to go. How's that tracking? It's going well, getting good attendance, good engagement?
Through you, Mayor, yes, good attendance, but I'll pass on to Director Farrell, who's been part of several of those consultations.
Thank you, Councillor Foster, for the question through the Mayor. Yes, so we've had sessions in Port Fairy, Croydon and Mortlake. There's an online session tomorrow, and the officers and consultants are scheduled to come to have a discussion with councillors on the 12th of December. Certainly, from an officer perspective, the conversations have been really engaging, and it's been around what is council's role, what's the perception and expectation from community in terms of the future role of council in this space, acknowledging council's limited capacity to lead necessarily. And certainly it's been framed in the context of the broader Southwest industry, creative industries strategy. But having said that, we haven't actually got down to the more granular conversations about themes or pillars yet. So it's very still much at the higher level, but inviting broad community input. There is also going to be a community survey that's going to go out shortly as well. So it's still very much in the consultation space for storming and norming, I guess. So yeah, but positive feedback today. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Farrell. Any further discussion or questions on the CEO's activities? If not, there's no further questions. That concludes our ordinary council meeting, open meeting. I'd call for a motion to suspend standing orders to hear the confidential items, please. Councillor Foster and Councillor Purcell. Thank you.